The North Sea coastline is a place of constant transformation, where land and water are locked in an eternal struggle. Here, in the shallow, tidal flats of Germany's Wadden Sea, local legend holds that on a quiet night, you can still hear the mournful toll of a church bell from beneath the waves. It is a ghost sound, a summons from a world lost to a single, cataclysmic storm. A prosperous trading town called Rungholt, erased from the map in the 14th century. For centuries, it was dismissed as a cautionary fable, a northern Atlantis born of folklore and fear. But what if the legend is true? Our investigation will journey beneath the mudflats, using modern science and historical records to peel back the layers of myth and expose the truth of the city swallowed by the sea. Now, let us open the case file and begin the investigation. To understand what was lost, we must first reconstruct the world of Rungholt as it existed in the early 14th century. This was not a city perched safely on high cliffs, but a vibrant economic powerhouse built on reclaimed land, a testament to human ingenuity and defiance in the heart of the treacherous Wadden Sea. Situated on the now submerged island of Strand, Rungholt was a major port in the medieval region of North Frisia. Its citizens were masters of their environment, constructing massive earthen mounds known as wharfs to elevate their homes and churches, and encircling their fertile marshlands with a complex system of dikes. This was a city built on trade, a vital artery of commerce connecting the North Sea to the European interior. Archaeological evidence and historical records paint a picture of a bustling metropolis. Its harbor would have been crowded with ships, their hulls laden with the region's treasures. Valuable salt harvested from the tidal flats, fine wool from the grazing sheep, amber washed ashore by the tides, and agricultural surplus from the rich soil. This wealth made Rungholt a beacon of prosperity, a place of handsome brick houses, busy markets, and a grand central church whose steeple was a landmark for sailors. The society that thrived here was fiercely independent, a community that had wrested its very existence from the sea and believed, perhaps, that their dikes had permanently tamed its power. They lived on a geological knife edge, but for generations, their engineering had held. It is this very prosperity that forms the dark heart of Rungholt's legend. As the city's wealth grew, folklore alleges its piety withered. The most enduring tale, recorded centuries later, speaks of a city consumed by hubris. It tells of a group of wealthy, drunken youths who, during a feast, forced a local priest to give the last rites to a pig, mocking the Holy Sacrament. In this telling, the priest fled the city and prayed to God for its punishment. That very night, the heavens answered. The legend frames the city's destruction not as a natural disaster, but as divine retribution for its arrogance and sin. When we analyze these tales, we are looking at more than simple fables. They are a form of cultural memory, a community's attempt to rationalize an almost incomprehensible trauma. The historical accuracy of drunken revelers and a cursed pig is irrelevant. Its allegorical power is what matters. It reflects how Rungholt was perceived by its neighbors and perhaps by its own people, a place of exceptional wealth and therefore of exceptional pride. These stories, passed down through generations, became the primary custodians of Rungholt's memory, transforming a real, living city into a mythological cautionary tale. But beneath the layers of folklore, the historical truth remained, buried under meters of sand and sea, waiting for the tools of a new era to bring its physical reality back to light. Before the storm, before the legend, Rungholt was simply home to thousands of people, merchants, farmers, sailors, and priests, living out their lives in a remarkable city, won from the waves. For over 600 years, the physical reality of Rungholt lay dormant, sealed beneath a shroud of mud and tidal water. The investigation to reclaim it from the realm of myth began not with maps, but with the whispers of fishermen, whose nets occasionally snagged on submerged anomalies, pulling up medieval pottery or worked wood from the ghost city below. These were tantalizing but scattered clues. The true forensic work required a new generation of tools capable of peering through the opaque layers of time and sediment. The modern investigation begins with the perpetrator itself, the storm. The event that erased Rungholt was no ordinary gale. Historical records refer to it as the Grote Mandrenka, the Great Man Drowning, a catastrophic North Sea storm that struck on January 16, 1362. We understand this today not just as a storm, but as an extreme storm surge, a phenomenon where low atmospheric pressure and ferocious winds pile seawater into a devastating dome. This wall of water, funneled by the coastline's geography, slammed into the Frisian dikes. The defenses, which had stood for generations, were engineered for storms, but not for a cataclysm of this magnitude. They were overtopped and breached. The resulting soil liquefaction would have turned the stable marshland into a semi-liquid state, causing buildings to collapse as their foundations gave way. It was a geological execution, scouring the island of Strand, shattering it into fragments, and carrying Rungholt into its watery grave. Finding the precise location of the city required a multidisciplinary approach, a fusion of geology, history, and advanced physics. The first step for modern researchers was to map the seabed, using techniques like bathymetry, which measures the depth of the water, and seismic profiling, which sends sound waves into the sediment. A ghost topography of the pre-1362 landscape begins to emerge. From here, the investigation narrows, employing geophysical survey methods. The primary tool in this search is the magnetic gradiometer. When we tow this sensitive instrument across the tidal flats, it measures minute variations in the Earth's magnetic field. Man-made objects, particularly fired materials like bricks from a church foundation or pottery from a kiln, create distinct magnetic anomalies. This allows us to generate a digital blueprint of buried structures, essentially seeing a city plan without moving a single shovelful of mud. This data is then ground truthed. Archaeologists take sediment cores, long cylinders of earth drilled from the flats. These cores act like geological timelines. In them, we can clearly identify the event horizon, a thick, chaotic layer of sand and marine deposits left by the 1362 storm surge. Anything man-made found below this layer is confirmed to be from the time of Rungholt or earlier. The work is painstakingly slow, dictated by the rhythm of the tides, which grant only a few hours of access to the mudflats each day before reclaiming them. For decades, these methods yielded a steady stream of evidence: remnants of dikes, wooden sluice gates preserved in the anaerobic mud, and countless shards of pottery. They proved a significant settlement had existed here. But the definitive breakthrough, the discovery that propelled Rungholt firmly from legend into documented fact, came in 2023. Synthesizing years of geophysical data, a team from Kiel University and the Leibniz Institute pinpointed a 2-kilometer-long chain of medieval terps, or dwelling mounds. And on the largest of these mounds, the gradiometer data revealed the unmistakable footprint of a massive structure, the foundations of a church, approximately 40 meters long and 15 meters wide. This was the smoking gun. In the medieval world, the size of a church was a direct reflection of the size and wealth of its parish. A church of these dimensions was no simple village chapel. It was the spiritual and civic heart of a major town, a regional center of great importance. The magnetic data was so clear it suggested not only the main building, but potentially other structures within a churchyard. This discovery finally gave the legendary city of Rungholt a concrete geographical coordinate. The investigation had located its heart. By combining the geological story of the storm with the forensic map created by geophysics and the tangible artifacts recovered from the mud, we can now state with certainty that the wealthy, hubristic city of the legends was real. We are no longer searching for a myth. We are uncovering the documented, verifiable urban plan of a lost world. The evidence is now assembled, and the verdict on this centuries-old case file can be delivered. The city of Rungholt was not a myth. It was not merely a cautionary tale invented to frighten children. Our investigation has demonstrated that it was a real, thriving, and significant urban center in 14th century North Frisia. The historical accounts of its commercial importance are corroborated by the sheer scale of the submerged settlement we have now mapped. The geological data provides a clear and devastating cause of death, the cataclysmic storm surge of 1362, and the archaeological discoveries, crowned by the recent identification of its great church, provide the irrefutable physical proof. The ghost on the seabed has a name, a location, and a story. This investigation, however, uncovers more than just foundations and artifacts. It exhumes a human catastrophe. By tracing the city's last moments, we move beyond data and into the realm of lived experience. We must imagine the night of January 16th, 1362, the shriek of the wind, the percussive roar of the waves against the dikes, and the rising sense of dread as the familiar sounds of defense gave way to the gushing of water. For the thousands of inhabitants of Rungholt, their engineered world, the one that had provided security and prosperity for generations, was dissolving beneath their feet. The loss of life must have been immense, a community almost entirely annihilated in a single night. Its rediscovery is not just an archaeological triumph. It is an act of remembrance for a population whose gravesite is the sea itself. The legacy of Rungholt extends far beyond the historical record. Its story serves as a profound and urgent warning for our own time. The people of Rungholt were not a primitive society. They were masters of hydraulic engineering, confident in their ability to manage their environment. Yet they were rendered helpless by an extreme weather event that surpassed all precedent. Today, as global sea levels rise and storms increase in intensity, our own coastal cities stand on a similar precipice. Rungholt is a case study written 660 years ago, a stark reminder that our own sophisticated defenses are not infallible, and that the forces of nature operate on a scale that can overwhelm human ambition. The city's reemergence from the mudflats forces us to confront our own vulnerabilities, questioning whether we are listening to the warnings that our own environment is sending. The tides of the Wadden Sea both conceal and reveal, acting as the custodians of a history written in silt and stone. The story of Rungholt teaches us that while cities can be erased from maps and coastlines redrawn, the human mark upon the world endures, waiting patiently in the quiet depths to remind us of the civilizations that stood where now only water resides.